My name is Alexis. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are learning all about making bagels. This is part of my bread making series. I hope you subscribe, ring the bell, and join in the fun on the kitchen time.
At this point, I am adding in my water and beginning my yeast mixture. You can check on the blog to see the exact instructions, but all we're doing is just growing that yeast right before we add in our flour. Be sure to preheat your oven to 175 to create a very warm place to rise your bread. At this point, that is what I'm doing with my light on. Right before I put my bread in, I turn off my oven, but keep the light on. Notice my little sprinkle of flour that I'm doing. This just helps activate that yeast real good. You want to see all these little bubbles happening in your yeast to know it's activated. It will look super puffy on top, and that is perfect. Now we're adding in that flour. If you are not familiar with bread making, go ahead and measure out the appropriate amount of flour before you start layering it in. But this is where you can see exactly how many cups I have already done and how it looks. It'll look real soupy, a little slimy, and that's exactly what you're going for. You want it to be incorporated really well before you continue adding on all the flour that is needed. When it starts pulling from the sides, as you can see here, that is whenever you'll start adding some more, but going with smaller amounts at a time. So go into that half or fourth cup. The more the dough works with the hook or by hands, you will see it all coming together very slowly. It's stretching out that gluten and really getting the liquids in with the flour. Focus on how clean my sides are getting, and now I'm just getting the rest of the flour to the bottom of my bowl so that it can pull up the rest and form a nice clean dough ball. I had saved about 2 teaspoons or tablespoons of flour, just to flour in that bottom part. Be sure to flour your surface very well before putting your dough on. When you're lifting that dough hook, a lot of people complain that they still have a little wetness at the bottom of their dough, and that's perfectly okay. Just grab about a tablespoon of flour, a nice pinch, and just add a little bit in there and just work it a minute or so with your hands, and you'll see it all come together beautifully. We are going for tackiness because we want those bagels to be nice and moist within. At the very end of kneading your dough, you will pull, as I'm showing her, from the sides over, folding it kind of like a washcloth you would. Just keep pulling in those sides, pushing down, and creating a nice, perfectly round top that's smooth. As you can see, she's pulling and working it pretty good. I'm adding about a tablespoon of oil to the bottom. You can do oil or butter, it doesn't really matter, and rolling it around the bowl to make sure it's nice and greased before putting in my dough ball. This is after my first rise. You can see how pliable the dough is. We're just rolling it around a nice bit, and we're going to start cutting it out into sections. Make sure that your surface is very floured. If it's not, the bagels will stick and it will be quite a show to pull them up. If you don't have this fancy smoothing tool or cutting tool, you can go ahead and just pull balls and try the best you can at this, making the same sizes. It really doesn't matter. You can also use a food scale to make it even if you're really wanting them to be perfectly round and perfectly even with the others. But I really don't find that's totally necessary. We actually enjoy having different sizes for the kids and for us. So we're flattening out one roll and then poking our middle finger or any finger in the middle of the round dough ball and just turning those sides over and tucking them down to make a nice flat but rounded edge bagel. This is happening. I have been boiling water. Once it comes to a boil, we're adding in 2 tablespoons of honey. I am dropping 4 to 5 bagels, depending on the size, in the boiling water. I let it rest in the water and flip for about 2 minutes. I did learn that using a wired scoop works perfectly, but if you don't have that kind of tool, you can definitely just use a regular spoon. It's just easier to flip and flip out. When you flip it out into your pan that is ready to be baked, make sure it has the mat or it's lined or greased, and you will put it in there and then add your topping on top before baking. You will notice that a little bit of the bagels have a little bit of water left over, and that is perfect. It creates steam from underneath and on top, and it helps stick the toppings to it. I did some everything bagel seasoning. I did a brown sugar and cinnamon mixture, and I did some salted ones as well. As soon as they're topped, I place them straight into the oven. Thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe and tune in for our next video.